Welcome to the World Chess Championship. This is game 10 and we already know game 8, game 9 and game 6 was won by Magnus and other games ended in a draw. So Nepo has to create some chances of winning so he could equalize with Magnus, which is quite unlikely as he is playing with the black pieces in this game. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this wonderful game and can Nepo create some of the chances of winning. We have e4 by Magnus, e5, knight f3, knight f6. This is the pattern of defense. You go for this capture and now this knight retreats on d3. Magnus is just avoiding any of this knight retreating on this f3 square because this has been played plenty of times and you want Nepo to go out of the books so that you can create some winning chances. This knight is coming on e2, so there is only one way to defend it. You'll have to play this queen e7. Knight f4, you just want to maneuver this knight. Knight f6, d4, you want to control a lot of squares in the center. Knight c6, attacking it, so c3, d5. Nepo also wants to control some of the central squares. So we have knight d2, knight d8. Nepo is nicely maneuvering this knight so that it can come to e8, e6 square so that you can trade this very strong knight. Otherwise, you would have to push this g5 move. And now this knight is jumping on f3, nicely controlling this square. So we have captures. Now bishop d6, a nicely developing move. Magnus just castled. Here Nepo also castled. Bishop d3. Now this bishop is nicely developed because this was not doing anything thus on e2 square. So we have rook e8, a very centralizing move. Rook e1 challenging this rook, so we have captures. And now this knight is jumping on e6 square, saying, okay, what do you want to do with this knight? Now we have captures, and both of the players are still having the bishop pair. So can this really help to any of the players? We have g3. Now Magnus' idea is to play this knight to this square and challenge this strong bishop. So we have also g6, continuing with the same fashion. Now this rook is coming into the game on e8. So we have this f3, taking any further possibilities of jumping this knight. And also this king can come into the game because this game is just going into the end game and you want your king to be in the center of the board. So we have king f2, c6, you just want to protect this pawn if any trade happens. Now pushing this pawn is really good. You want to ask whether do you want to go here. Going here is not a good idea because Magnus would control a lot of squares in the king's side. So Nepo retreated with this knight g7. So we have bishop f4 challenging this bishop. We have captures and g5, saying okay, what do you want to do with this knight? Magnus obviously retreats. Now f5, challenging this g pawn. So we have h3, nicely controlling the squares. Now Nepo also bring this king into the game and Magnus plays a very important move with this rook h1, saying okay, if you want to capture here, then after this capture, this pawn would obviously be lost because this bishop is attacking it and also rook would be attacking. So there is no way to capture here, and Nepo find this h6. We have this f4, a very cunning move. Now you want to get rid of this backward pawn, so we have some trades happening, and now this capture, and Nepo just offers a trade of bishops. So we have captures, and now this rook check leads to a pawn sacrifice, but it is really temporarily because king g6 and now your rook is attacked and the pawn is also attacked, so you will lose this pawn. And we have some of the very boring move of the end game. So this is now king is going on d6, so we have this knight jumping forward on g6 square, rook e6 challenging this knight, saying okay, what do you have? So knight is jumping on e5 square, which is very fantastic, and there is no way to kick this knight away. So this knight retreats and a very important move by Magnus with this rook f7. And now, if you try to play any of the random moves, then you can just get checkmated, which obviously Nepo doesn't go for this, and he plays this rook check and forces the trade. And after this trade happens, this is move 40, and they just agreed to a draw after this king e3, because draw is only possible when move 40 is reached. So after this move they agreed to a draw because there's nothing left in this game. You just want to push your pawns, and after that you will just exhaust, and this would end up in a draw. So they want to save their energy to their further matches, because when there's nothing, there's really nothing. So I hope you enjoyed this